Edition of Andy and Ari on 3. It is a Picks Monday, and we have a lot of intriguing games to pick. Georgia Tech, Clemson, Wisconsin, Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia, Tennessee. Also Texas A&M, Notre Dame. Also Florida, LSU, and many, many more. That's right. All the lines and spreads presented by BetMGM. Let's pick some games. We have teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3. It is a Pick Monday. We pick the games very early in the week. We're going to reserve the right to maybe change them up. Ari is coming off
Just get it over with. Just get it over with, Andy. Just tell them what it is. I'm a loser. I'm a big loser.
Everybody said, you guys need to keep track of this stuff so we know whether to follow or fade you. And I said, okay, knowing it was probably going to be very bad for me. And I was down after week one. I am now up, though, because I went 5-3-1 against the spread in week two. Ari went 1-7-1 against the spread. So your overall records for the year, I'm 11-9-1. Ari is 9-11-1.
Yeah.
And he's calling 9-1-1 because
there's probably another joke in there somewhere too. I just I had a bad week, Andy, and I was pretty clear about it.
I once went 0-for-8 on the entire graphic. So
also
it happens to the best of us.
I'm going to call a little bullshit. Like the line moved to 3.5 in the one that we tied. Like that should have been,
should have been a loss for both of us.
No, it should have been a win for me and a loss for you.
Oh, a win for you. Yeah, that's right. Oh, my bad. But no, it's when we do it, because if we had done that, I would have gotten 2.5 more points on Michigan, Oklahoma than I had.
I just want to go on record and say that the week went poorly for me, but I don't think my ideas were wrong. Now, you can't call your bookie and say, hey, you can't call BetMGM.
I think you should.
Listen,
sorry, my ideas were wrong.
My idea was
right. My ideas were correct. You sound like Billy Napier to me.
Yeah. And
the plan was sound. It just wasn't executed properly.
Yeah. And it's uncharacteristic on my part, right? That also sounds like Billy Napier. No, this happens in life and gambling quite a bit. 1-7's a pretty terrible weekend, Andy, and I felt it. And for those who don't know, I know that there's a lot of talking heads out there that are, giving out picks, and I'm playing the games. I showed Andy and River the chart from the week. It was a pretty bloody Saturday. So, I wish Duke wouldn't have turned it over a few times in the red zone. That would have been great. Wish Virginia didn't make 3 red zone trips down by 4 and come away with 0 points in the fourth quarter of their game, including a missed field goal that would have brought it within 1. I wish SMU didn't blow a 14-point lead with 5 minutes left, but that happens. I was on the right side of all these games, I felt like, and it just didn't play out. But I'm super excited to get in today, and I guarantee that like my record will be better than yours at the end of the year. Like I guarantee it. So
Clip it, River, right now. Clip it, save it.
I will. And what happened was I shouldn't have won
Better.
I shouldn't have won trivia because I blew it.
We said it when the show ended on Wednesday when you beat me at trivia that this meant I was going to kill you in the picks. That's what it.
I should have bet out of all of them because I actually played SMU. I played Virginia, and I played another one too. I played Ole Miss. That was a bad beat. I played. I mean, I feel like four of the. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to create excuses, but I had a lot of bad situations happen to me that flipped the spreads. But you know what? That's gambling. That's part of it, and we're gonna keep chugging along. I feel pretty good about where I'm headed. So let's get into that.
I think this week's going to be very interesting. We get more conference play this week, which I think spices things up a little bit. We also have a couple really good non-conference games that this is more kind of good on good than we had the last few weeks. So we're not dealing with massive spreads, although there's one in particular that I think is very big for the game that it is. And so I think we'll find out. Well, let's talk about a game that's going to have a huge spread first. UTEP, Texas, because Steve Sarkisian got asked about Arch Manning's health during his press conference. And
did you see the play that the reporter was referencing? I don't know if you're
not sure which play it was.
There was one specific play where Arch Manning was throwing a slant route and the ball landed at the receiver's feet. And after he let go of it, he went.
He kind of winced.
He went. He didn't just kind of. He winced. Like, I mean, it looked like he was in a lot of pain. And I don't know.
Was he wincing because he was in pain, or was he wincing because he knew he'd thrown it badly and he was about to dirt it?
That could be the case. Maybe he had to let it rip out a fart. I don't know what the reason for the wince was. We'll get back. That fart comment will come back around here in a second. But like, it looked like he was in pain, and the throw was so bad that like it was a pretty short leap to make to say the throw was that bad because it hurt coming out. So again, we'll come back to that.
We'll come back around to that in a second.
Andy, why don't you take it from here?
All right. So Steve Sarkisian was asked about Arch Manning's health in I got to say, a strange way, and he responded with
Arch Manning seemed to be having some throwing pains by the
according to
quarter.
who?
Arch
Said that to you?
No.
Oh, according to who?
It just looked like he was.
He doesn't have any.
Is there an explanation to why it looked like that?
I don't know. I've never filmed any of you guys when you're using the bathroom, so I don't know what faces you make when you're doing that.
Sark, you talk.
That's an interesting place for the mind to go, but I now get it because I've watched that clip like 7 times, and I get it. Okay,
I don't get
it.
He's
talking about interpreting someone's facial expressions. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about be careful interpreting a person's facial expressions, because if you're on the toilet, you're going to make some pretty crazy faces.
Do you think you make crazy faces when you're on the toilet? Because I don't.
I'm 100% certain that I make crazy faces on the toilet. Not because I'm looking at myself, but I'm just sure I am.
This is the closest thing to a facial expression I make during the toughest of battles on the toilet.
You don't bear down? You went to Arizona. You have to bear down.
I want to make noise into the mic, but maybe that,
yeah.
like a little smirk. But like, I don't know if that I would go, oh, like that. I mean, I've never had a kid.
But sometimes you go, oh, and sometimes you go, ugh. You don't do that?
I don't know. Maybe I do, and you're just unaware of it. But I don't feel like I have a theatrical reaction to going to the bathroom.
I'm theatrical reacting to everything.
You know what I will say?
That's just me.
We're playing around right now, and I didn't watch the entire Sarkisian press conference. I plan to do it after the show. He felt testy about the question, and I thought that was suspicious.
No?
Well,
I think he's been getting it over and over, just not directly. So he's probably been testy about it all weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe there is something to it, but we'll see. I mean, those are the types of things that reveal themselves as you play the game.
It wouldn't be a season of quarterback play at Texas if there wasn't a undisclosed shoulder injury.
Giant microscope.
Yeah,
Speaking of,
didn't that the Quinn Ewers didn't everybody say he was injured all of last year?
Yes. Which didn't they come out and say that around draft time?
I think they came out and said it at the end of the year. I don't know that they said it before the year. Yeah.
So
happening.
Yeah, there's going to be a microscope on the quarterback at Texas. It's just always going to be this way. Speaking of quarterbacks with injuries that actually existed and lingered, we will talk later about Florida DJ Lagway. When we picked the Florida LSU game, I was at the Billy Napier press conference less than an hour ago. And
eventful too.
It was interesting. It was very interesting. We'll talk about it when we talk Florida LSU, but it was a defiant Billy Napier, which is, I don't know what I expected going in, but I think it maybe wasn't that. But we'll talk about it when we pick Florida LSU. I'm not sure how it affects how I feel about this game. And I'm glad we have some time to talk about the other games before we get to that one, because I'm still not sure how I feel about that one yet, especially given that. So one more thing, another game we're not picking, but is fascinating. And we've talked about it a lot in the offseason because it involves Michigan and the Connor Stallions investigation and all that. Sherrone Moore is now suspended. He's suspended for the Central Michigan game this week and the Nebraska game. He has revealed who the acting head coach for Michigan will be. Remember, it was Sherrone Moore when then head coach Jim Harbaugh was suspended. So who is it going to be now? It's going to be Biff Poggi. That's right. Former Michigan staffer who became the Charlotte head coach, ran a hedge fund, one of the most interesting people in college football, Biff Poggi. River, roll the clip, please.
Good question. I'm going to keep my cigar lit.
No problem. He definitely kept his cigar lit for the entire interview. Now, that was before he coached a game at Charlotte. He ended up being fired after 1 and about 3/4 seasons at Charlotte. But Biff's going to run the show. I don't know that changes my opinion on how things are going to go. I don't know that does anything for me, because the play callers will be the play callers. Chip Lindsey and Wink Martindale will be calling plays like they always do. So I don't know that really changes much.
That the person that they're using as the interim head coach was also Jim Harbaugh's right-hand man for a while?
No. Sherrone Moore was on the staff when Biff was there.
I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm just saying it's kind of amusing to me that you're going after Sherrone Moore for his involvement.
Oh, is it a middle finger to the NCAA? Probably.
Yeah, that's all I'm getting at. It's just kind of a funny sort of event. Like, well, Sherrone Moore can't coach in this game because he deleted text messages that had nothing in them. But now we're going to have the person who helped Harbaugh turn it around at Michigan as the guy who leads the way out onto the field. It is kind of a, thank you for putting it that way. I think that's how I was trying to communicate it, like a middle finger to the NCAA a little bit.
Well, let's ask the question that actually matters, though. Is Biff going to wear sleeves as Michigan's acting head coach?
Yeah, I hope he doesn't.
I hope not. Please don't.
He's been pretty successful in life. And I feel like there's certain levels of success you can get to in life where sleeves no longer are a requirement, right? Like, I don't know if that's if a dollar figure or a certain accomplishment that's not monetary. I don't know what it would be, but
I know I'm not there yet, but I think he is. Yeah.
But I am not all that moved by this. I think that Central Michigan's actually a team that I will probably be competitive for the MAC title. That's not the easiest team that they could be facing.
Yeah, they'll be feisty. They had a good game against San Jose State. Big win week 1. Now Pitt put it on them pretty good last week.
Yeah, we're not picking this game, but I think I would lean towards Central Michigan covering, but I don't know.
It's 27.5 points. So it's a lot of points. And the Michigan defense or the Michigan offense, we saw, obviously Oklahoma exposed vulnerabilities in it, but that's also with Oklahoma's extremely athletic defensive players who are
I could see a 42-17 type game, where it's like a 25 point, deal.
But
Michigan is an interesting topic. We spoke a lot about them on Saturday. I'm very interested to see how they progress as a team after what we saw in Oklahoma on Saturday night. Now, Oklahoma deserves a lot of the credit defensively for, making them uncomfortable and doing it the way that they did. But I wonder if Michigan's offense is going to, progressively get much better as the year goes on, or if this is a situation where it's like, get him live reps, Bryce Underwood I'm talking about, and then really go into the portal in the offseason and update his, or, bring in some receivers that can help him out a little bit. Because I do think that if you're a Michigan fan, you might be kind of bummed by what went on Saturday night, and rightfully so. But also, if you look around, they're clearly spending money in NIL. They're clearly committed to winning at a high level. Think about how they've just reacted with all the NCAA stuff. They are pro football there. I don't know that they would have reacted about that NCAA stuff the same way in 2010. And, you have a defensive coordinator and a defense that's going to be very good traditionally year over year. I think that they're one spending spree away of adding 4 or 5 players in the portal from being right back in this thing. Not that they're dead now, but I think that I'm comfortable saying, and it's my opinion, that they are not one of the 3 teams that will win the Big Ten this year. They're not in that conversation. I think they're a notch below. And I think that's kind of what we expected. They didn't improve their whole offense. And I think that we're finding out in college football to be a really, really good team. Not an average team or an above average team, but a really good to great team. You have to have certain players that help your quarterback out. And I'm not sure that Michigan has those guys.
Well, we will find out. 27.5-point spread in that game. Sharon Moore won't be there. Biff Poggi will be your head coach for the Michigan Wolverines for the next 2 weeks. So that means he's always also the coach against Nebraska, which is going to be absolutely fascinating. Before we get to the picks, though, I want to tell you about Academy Sports and Outdoors. Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets SEC fans ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find grills, jerseys, and more. Fun can't lose, and neither can you with tailgate gear from Academy. Academy Sports and Outdoors is the official sporting goods and outdoor retailer of the SEC. So if you are going to, Georgia, Tennessee in Knoxville, if you are going to Arkansas, Ole Miss in Oxford, if you are going to Florida, LSU in Baton Rouge, Vandy, South Carolina, and Columbia, go to Academy Sports and Outdoors first and get yourself completely ready to tailgate. Ari, we will talk about those games in a second. But first, we start in the ACC. Clemson at Georgia Tech. And I got to say, the spread looks like what I think it should look like. So Clemson's favored by 4.5 on the road. I'm glad this is below a touchdown, because I think what we saw with Clemson and Troy was fairly unnerving. And I think we know Georgia Tech is a pretty good team. Now, Haynes King didn't play last week because of a lower body injury, but the assumption is he's going to be back for this game. And the line seems to suggest he's going to be back for this game.
I think it's actually good. With the way that Haynes King plays the game, he should do like the NBA load management, Andy, where it's like, okay, well, we're playing a game that we're not going to lose. Let's just give his body a break, because when he goes out and plays Clemson in 2 weeks, he's going to bash his face into every Clemson defender 100 times. And it's a reckless abandon in the way that he plays. And I love it. And I love that Haynes King has been recognized nationally from fans as a badass, because he plays like one. And maybe in the old days where Clemson would have been favored by 29.5 in this game, this allows us to appreciate and recognize other really good players that don't play at the traditional powers. And I think he's the poster child for that, right? Yeah. That said, are we out on Clemson now? Is that it? Are we done with them?
No, I'm not done with them. And the Troy game was a terrible game, but you also had the lightning delay. There were a lot of things going on there. Really fluky pick six. That if that doesn't happen, the final score looks really different. But Clemson's offense was worrisome.
Mm-hmm.
Them being unable to put points on the board until the second half, really, against Troy is a problem.
Yeah. It is really hard to properly contextualize these games because there's so many explanations for why. It's an overmatched opponent. It's a week after an emotional loss at home. You have a lightning delay. Like you know, is it because there are real issues with Clemson's offense, or is it just a sleeper? You know, and I don't know how to sift through that.
Right.
You know, Clemson's
I
offense
think
also didn't do much for LSU, but LSU's really good, I think. So, like, that's also understandable. Like, are we really, like, all year, all offseason, we got done telling you, hey, you know, Clemson's a virtual lock to make the playoff. Even if they lose to LSU, there's nobody in the ACC that's probably going to be able to beat this team. And, like, are we going to abandon? I'm not abandoning that thought process yet.
I'm not either, but the thing is, there is a chance Florida State's better than them and that they play them in the regular season.
Yeah.
And if Florida State is better than Clemson and beats Clemson, then you've got a problem because you've got to – then do you even get to play Miami? You know, or does Florida State go play Miami? And then we'll see, you know, what's Louisville? What's Georgia Tech? I mean, Georgia Tech could have a say in this here. Georgia Tech, you know, so Haynes King didn't dressed for the Gardner Webb game, but did not play. Aaron Philo took the snaps. If you listen to the show during the offseason, you heard us say, because we got asked the question about it, what team's really confident in their backup? Georgia Tech was the only answer we could come up with at the time. I think we've got some different answers now. But Aaron Philo, who played pretty well when he had to come in last year, was good. So, like, I'm not as worried about them. Even if Haynes King does get banged up again, I still think they're going to be fine. Remember what happened to Georgia Tech against Colorado, Ari, and this is I think a very interesting point about this particular team. They turned the ball over 3 times in the first 8 minutes against Colorado, and Colorado turned. I don't think they turned all of those into points, but they turned some of them into points. You should not be able to win a game if you turn the ball over 3 times in the first 8 minutes. Like, that should doom you. And Georgia Tech did not let it doom them on the road. They came back, won that game at the end. So I like this team. I love the culture that Brent Key has built there. And so,
I mean, we have to go out of our way. And I don't know if we have given enough credit to Brent Key in terms of, like, coaches that deserve, you know, to be publicly recognized. But when you think about what Georgia Tech was from a culture standpoint 4 years ago, and you think about what you think now when you're playing Georgia Tech, think about how much different that feels.
It's unbelievable.
It used to just be a walkthrough game, and now it's like, you better wear extra pads because you're going to get your face beaten. Like, that isn't an easy thing to accomplish in a short amount of time. And his tenure there is still a short amount of time to completely revamp everything. And
I'll tell you, Ari, I knew pretty quickly that he was going to be pretty good. I didn't know if he'd be this good, but I did a story. This was back when we were working at The Athletic, about when he took over for Jeff Collins. And the first thing he did when he got the job, like, he meets with the AD gives him the interim job. He gets back to the complex and immediately begins revamping their punt team because they kept getting punts blocked before they fired Collins. And so he revamps the punt team on the fly, like the week of the game, which you don't do that. Like, that is what you do in spring practice. You don't make changes to that sort of thing during the season. He made drastic changes to it, and it ended up working. And it ended up, I don't believe they got another punt blocked all season and had good punt coverage. And, like, that's when you know this is a person who really knows how to drill down on the details. But as you were saying, what he's done in the macro, which is create a program where you see them on the schedule and you're like, oh, crap, this is going to hurt.
It's that feeling of, like, oh, crap. Like, it's a good way of putting it. It's like, oh, this is going to be a painful game. And if we win, it's going to be hard. And if we win, we're going to be banged up. And if we win, we're going to have to play hard-nosed football for 4 quarters to instill that personality into a team that, despite being located in the heart of Atlanta, was kind of hopeless. It's pretty remarkable. And I do question at times, you know, in the past, the debates that we've all had internally of, like, is Georgia Tech a good job or is Georgia Tech an impossible job? It's like, if you can create that hard-nosed, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like Big Ten feeling of, like, hard-nosed football in the ACC in Atlanta, can't you? There are enough players in the Georgia area that would appeal to that aren't good enough to go play at Alabama or Georgia, aren't there? Like, enough to make them a tough out in the ACC on an annual basis.
Brent Key has proven that. Brent Key's already proven that. And then it can get better from here. So now Haynes King's probably going to play. I think this spread is where it should be. If this spread were something like Clemson by 9.5 or Clemson by 10, I would be picking Georgia Tech easily. But because of where it's at, and I feel like they put it in the right place, I'm going to pick Clemson to cover here.
The spread seems low to me. I'm taking Clemson here too. I don't know if we're stepping a foot into a bear trap. The spread to me feels like it should be around 10. I still feel like Clemson.
See, it doesn't feel like it should be around 10 to me. Like if it were Clemson plus 10, I would be picking Georgia Tech all day.
You know, I don't know if I can get froggy. I'm getting froggy in one of our picks later.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to pick something that is going to get clipped and I'm going to be mocked for it if I'm wrong. And I've known I'm going to do it. But you're a
genius if you're right.
But yeah, that's the thing. Do I put myself out there or do I just pick a game against the spread and then if I'm wrong, no one notices? Or do I actually
put yourself out there? Yeah.
When we get there, you'll see. Maybe tell me I made a mistake, but I'm going to do it because you know what? It's a podcast and we're having fun.
Exactly.
4.5. 4. I think Clemson's 5 points better than them. And if they're not, then we've been completely wrong about who they were and what they were supposed to be. And I can rip my ticket of 22-1 of Clemson winning the national title, in half. So I think Clemson's still a very good team. They've had a rough go of it, but they're going to be competitive, and I think that they can match that intensity. And what do you want with a hard-nosed football team? You want a really good defensive line. You want athletic people in your secondary. I think Clemson possesses both of those things. They don't have Eric Singleton anymore. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going Clemson.
All right. We're both on Clemson in that game. Before we go to Tuscaloosa for a game that we really need to talk about, I want to tell you about Panini. PaniniAmerica.net is where you go to start your collection. The most collectible sports cards on the planet. Tyler Warren pulled an autographed Tyler Warren out of the Luminance pack the other day. Tyler Warren, I said this before the Colts-Dolphins game started. I said, hot take, Tyler Warren is going to be the best player on the Colts this year. I don't know if that's true. They all look pretty good yesterday, but Tyler Warren had a great game. So got that one. JJ McCarthy, brilliance from the Prism series. We're going to see him tonight on Monday Night Football, but this is him in his beautiful Michigan uniform. And yeah, a little Cooper DeJean autograph. The man scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Can I show some of mine now? When you do Panini ads, all I do is think about, will he shut up so I can show my cards off?
Look, show your cards. Show us your cards, Ari. Show us your cards.
We got to, and I can't remember which ones I've shown, but do you see this bad boy right here? I bought this in the offseason because Jalen Hurts is very underrated in terms of his resale right now. Like he is much cheaper than other quarterbacks for some reason. He's a Super Bowl champion, and I think they'll play for another few during his tenure. This is flawless. That's a high-end product. That's an on-card. And you know what there is? There's a sapphire gem in the bottom of that card. I don't know if you can see that. That's a
very nice. Metal. Did you hear he said roll Sooners during his introduction the other night?
Did he?
Yeah. Repping Alabama and Oklahoma. So go to PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection today. And we are going to go to Tuscaloosa now, Ari, because
I'm not done. I just show my gold
by all means.
Rookie ticket, Dalton Kincaid. That's a gold card, guys. That's 1 to 10.
Oh.
Guy scored a touchdown over the weekend. I'm just printing money over here. I don't know what to tell you. Zay Flowers scored last night. I showed you this one. That's a fractal RPA. Look at that patch. Look at that relic. Come on. There's nothing more fun than this. Don't you want to play fantasy football? Oh, but one more, and then I'll stop.
One more. All right.
Quentin Johnston cracked ice out of Contenders Optic, PSA 10. Are you kidding me? 2 touchdowns, 2 tutties? All right. Let's go. I love it. I love this.
The fact that he's now kind of being what he was supposed to be when he came out of TCU, that's a big difference for the Chargers. So we'll
buy
see.
The dip in cards, guys. You can buy the dip in cards. It's not just stocks. You can buy the dip.
You absolutely can. And Quentin Johnston had the dropsies for 2 years, and now he doesn't. So
his prices dropsied a little bit, and I scooped a few of them.
There you go. But the Jalen Hurts thing is really interesting. So let's go to one of the schools that Jalen Hurts played for, and that's Alabama. We talked a ton about Alabama after they lost to Florida State. What is this team? Is it the same team as last year? Are they not as hard-nosed as they were during the Nick Saban era? Are they going to let themselves take the punishment all year? Are they going to start delivering the blows? Well, they certainly delivered the blows against Louisiana Monroe, but again, that's Louisiana Monroe. So I don't know if we learned anything there. Wisconsin comes to Alabama. Alabama is a 20.5-point favorite. Now, we think this is going to be a Danny O'Neal game for Wisconsin. We're not sure Billy Edwards is going to be able to come back. Remember, he got hurt in the season opener, and we haven't seen him since then. So if it's a Danny O'Neal game, I don't have a lot of confidence that Wisconsin can cover this, because we were at Wisconsin, Alabama in Madison last year. If our theory is correct, that this is essentially the same Alabama team as last year, insanely talented, will get up for some games and not get up for others, then they should win this game easily, because Wisconsin couldn't do anything against them last year, playing with its backup quarterback most of the time because Tyler Van Dyke got hurt during the game. It feels like deja vu just in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. So let's start with Alabama's last game. Did you see after the game was over, they won 73-0 against ULM, right? 73-0, I think was the score. Bama's official Twitter account posted a picture and a score graphic that said "Still Bama," and they got absolute clowned because you don't get to claim you're still Bama when you roll 73-0 against a team that isn't physically equipped to be on the same field as you. And I get that you're feeling good. It was positive. You know, the worst thing that you possibly could have seen is like a Clemson-Troy scenario, right? After coming off of a loss like they had against Florida State in week 1, you didn't want to see like a floundering yawn fest, right? You wanted to see a team fire to the football and really play like they gave a shit. And I thought that was the most important takeaway from that game. And let's not forget, I can't remember if we picked the UNLM game, but it was a trendy pick to take the 37.5. A lot of people thought, this is going to be a Bama team that struggles offensively this year. And even though they're playing an overmatched team, 37.5 points is a hell of a lot to win by. I'm going to ride the downward trend. And you people got torched. I think they were covering the 38 at halftime, weren't they? Were they up 42-0?
Oh, yeah.
Had 583 total yards. Like, how much can you take away from a blowout win like that? I think you can make the case that probably not. Austin Mack went 8 for 10 too, for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Keelan Russell, the freshman, 4 for 6 for 2 tutties. Like, everybody that played in that game played at a high level. And I feel like I am more willing to buy back into Alabama being really good than I was a week ago. And I don't know if that's false hope. I thought that they had a look in their eye that they did not have against Florida State. We talked about whether or not Alabama can find that again. This is a very hard game to pick. I don't know that I want to fade them right now. I don't know if I want to fade them right now. Am I buying too much into a win?
They still have very good players.
And
that's the question.
Is just not very good. Like
that's the question.
Not very good.
Because if this was the Wisconsin of early Paul Chryst era or the Brett Bielema era Wisconsin,
20 points, no doubt about
20 points, you're picking Wisconsin all day if you get 20 points. But now I just don't know. Even if this is an Alabama team that's going to go 9-3 or 8-4, and we don't know if it is or not. But even if it is, the Alabama team that went 9-3 last year beat Wisconsin 42-10 and could have beaten them by a lot more. I don't think Wisconsin's appreciably better. Once again, we think Wisconsin is going to be playing with a backup quarterback.
That was on the road. We were there. It was a really, really bad game. I don't know if that's clouding my judgment. I don't know if ULM is clouding my judgment, but I think I'm going to lay the points here.
I'm with you. I'll take Alabama to cover here. And I know it's boring pod that we pick the same way each time, but again, we don't.
Andy, I promise you.
Yeah, we don't prepare these beforehand. We don't go, oh, if you're taking them, I'm taking them. No, I feel like it's going to be the same game as last year.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I don't know if it'll be the same game. I just don't know if Wisconsin has enough pop to make this competitive if Alabama plays well.
Well, and that's, if that's what happens, if they're just completely outclassed, that is on Luke Fickell. So that's another thing we need to pay attention to, keep track of. But, if Alabama plays the way it did against Florida State, this will be competitive for a little while. It will be, because Wisconsin will be able to move the ball a little bit. But if Alabama has buttoned that part up, I don't see a path. But even if Alabama plays like they played against Florida State, there's a chance they can win this game by 3 touchdowns.
I'm thinking if you pick Wisconsin here, you are fading Bama, not playing well.
You are predicting a very bad Alabama season if you're picking Wisconsin here.
And I'm not ready to jump to that point yet.
I want to see Alabama against Georgia before I make any bold predictions about Alabama.
Long enough to realize that, like, it's within. This stuff happens all the time, and then Bama goes out and wins a huge SEC game, and then we forget about it. Like, me breaking the shackles of prisoners of the moment. Like, I really, really don't want to just be like, oh, they lost to Florida State, they stink.
No, you'd rather be they beat Louisiana Monroe 73-0. They're awesome.
No, it's not that they're awesome. I still think that they're an inherently flawed team. I don't think they're going to win the SEC. But to think that every good team in the SEC is just going to beat the crap out of them this year, I think is a mistake. So, and Wisconsin doesn't have any juice to me at all. And it's a shame what's going on there. I just don't know I don't know the direction of the program. Maybe somebody, who's a huge Wisconsin fan can write us a long email and we can read on the Andy and Ari show. But I don't even know who they are.
I'm not sure
they know who they are. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's part of the problem. I think Alabama knows who it's supposed to be. It's just a matter of getting there. So this is a game where they can work on that, because they play Wisconsin and then they're off and then they play Georgia. And that game will tell us an awful lot about Alabama and the stretch that Alabama goes into after the Wisconsin game. So they take that week off, and this is consecutive weeks now. Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina before an off week before LSU. That is a really tough stretch. And if you are the team we saw in Tallahassee, you will struggle during that stretch. So this is the time to get that stuff figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if we can get on a different side of something here. Let's argue. I'm tired of it.
All right. So Wisconsin, Alabama. We're both on Alabama. Before we head to Knoxville, I want to tell you about Gametime. Do you want to be at the game in Knoxville at Georgia, Tennessee? Download the Gametime app, type in Tennessee football, and you can just click on it. Or if you want to go to Notre Dame, Texas A&M, type in Texas A&M football and click on Texas A&M and Notre Dame. And then you can see all of the seats in Notre Dame Stadium that you could have. There are seats below $300 right now if you want to get into Texas A&M Notre Dame this week, which is pretty spectacular, because I'm telling you, the Notre Dame fans and the Texas A&M fans had a lot of money in that crowd. I expected the seats to cost a little bit more. So that's actually not really bad. And when you're on the Gametime app, you can look exactly at where you would be sitting. You click the seat and it shows you a photo of the stadium. And you can kind of, if you move your phone, it'll be like you're turning your head in that seat. It's pretty amazing. Also, the number you see, that price, that is the price you'll pay. They don't tack on a bunch of extra fees afterwards. You hit that price, you pay, you got your ticket for that price. So download the Gametime app. We're doing the code STAPLES, and you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. Code STAPLES for $20 off your first purchase. Go to Gametime. It is exactly what it says you're going to pay. No surprises. And you get tickets to every game you want to go to. So where do you want to go this weekend? Just open the Gametime app and figure it out. We are going to go to Knoxville right now. Georgia at Tennessee. Georgia is favored by 3.5 on the road. And this is a fascinating game. This is a fascinating game because Tennessee kind of left for dead in the offseason because they lost Nico. They lost all this. But they've played really well the first 2 weeks. Georgia, meanwhile, if you look at the Dogs HQ message board, lots of critiques of offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, lots of critiques of quarterback Gunnar Stockton. Ari, is this the time Tennessee breaks through against the Bulldogs for the first time since the Dobnail boot game.
You know, before we started the show, I thought the spread of this game was 7, and I oversold how froggy I was going to be.
Oh boy.
Game. I'm picking Tennessee to win the game, not just the points.
Are you going to take the money line? You're going to go money line, or do you want the points?
Well, before I go money line, I want to know, because we haven't set this in stone. Do I get extra points if I win a money line bet? How does that work?
I think we should each get. I think we should each get a half or something, because like I picked Miami money line against Notre Dame, so I want credit for that too.
So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to bet Tennessee to win, and I get 1.5 points towards in my record, which maybe could get confusing. I don't know. Or
you and I can just keep track. You and I can just keep track of how many money lines that we've picked and won with. So okay. I've only got the one. I have the Notre Dame Miami game. I picked Miami money line, and that game I asked you.
It still counts as a loss in my loss column.
No, because you picked the money line. Yeah, no.
That's what I'm saying. If Georgia wins by 3, I don't get the credit for Tennessee covering the spreads. What I'm saying.
I got you. Okay. No, okay. If you pick an underdog money line and hit, then no picking favorites on the money line. Like that's a cop-out.
It's only underdog, and I thought that they were a bigger underdog. Did the line move? I thought it opened at 6 or 5.5. People must be thinking what I'm thinking. So, but like picking an underdog that's a 3.5 point dog to win outright isn't as juicy as if they're a 7-point dog. So I apologize for hyping it up, but I think that I'm buying Tennessee stock and I'm selling Georgia stock. In terms
Ari,
of
this was Georgia -7 yesterday. So Sunday afternoon, this was Georgia -7. It is now Georgia -3.5. And I believe the Tennessee money line is +135. Is that right, Producer River? So +135 on the Tennessee money line. A lot of people had the same idea you did. They looked at this thing and said, that is way too many points. Way too many points.
Yeah. I don't think that Georgia, after what we've seen this year, is in a position to be giving anyone a touchdown.
Ari. So Jermod McCoy probably not coming back for this game. That's Tennessee's best corner. They've also got another cornerback injured. The hope was initially so McCoy got hurt, I believe, in January. The hope was he'd be able to get back for this game. He's not quite ready, it seems. So that's a tough loss for Tennessee, because they were hoping that they'd have him back for this. But I don't know, does that make a difference? Because we've seen Gunnar Stockton kind of struggle, and I saw the Georgia folks, and Kirby Smart said this after the game. He said, I want to see the Gunnar Stockton that I see in practice in the games, because I'm not seeing the same person right now. And that's not what I want to hear from the head coach.
Well, I don't get to see Gunnar Stockton in practice. I've seen Gunnar Stockton in the games, and I don't think that he's bad, but I don't think he's a lightning rod. I think that he's kind of just existing right now. And when you go play in Knoxville, unfortunately, I've never been, but I know what it's like. I've seen it on TV. I felt the Alabama-Tennessee crowd a few years ago when they won that game through my television speakers. I've never in my entire life been more remorseful for missing an event than when they beat Alabama for the first time under Heupel.
That was a crazy. I wasn't at that one, but I've been at some. I've been at a game where the stadium completely shook. I was at the '98 Florida game in Neyland Stadium, and when Collins Cooper missed the field goal in overtime, it felt like an earthquake. And that is Tennessee when it gets going, and it is one of the toughest places to play. Now, the Georgia defense has been the kryptonite for this Josh Heupel offense, and actually, up until that Ole Miss Georgia game we saw, had been the kryptonite for this offense in general. Remember, this is the old Baylor veer and shoot. But we were at that Ole Miss game where the offense worked fine against Georgia. So what that seems to mean is if you can beat them in the trenches, or you can compete with them in the trenches, that offense is not – it's not that defense just destroys that offense or just shuts down that offense. So
I think that like my thought process is, I think Georgia could win the SEC, and it's still a very good team. And I'm never going to disrespect Kirby Smart or what he's built there. But I think that we as a community in college football have just crowned Georgia the SEC favorite because of the trajectory they were on 2 years ago. And the sport has changed, and they have changed with it to a certain extent, where the reason why Georgia's defense was kryptonite to Tennessee's offense is because it was kryptonite to everybody they played. They kicked the crap out of everybody.
Because they just had better players. Yes.
Like, I don't know how much I can take from like the Hendon Hooker game and be like, oh, that's going to be applied to this. That's
no, it's not schematic. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
When Ole Miss played them last year in Oxford, running the same offense, essentially.
Went great. Yeah.
It went great because the personnel were not that far apart. They were,
and I think
they were very close.
And I don't know, like the one thing that could get me is if David Sanders, the right tackle who's making his first start as a true freshman, has a rough outing like that, like Joe, I don't know. As fun as it is to prop up Joey Aguilar as the gunslinger who can hit people downfield, he also has a propensity to throw into traffic or make throws.
Yeah, gunslingers are great when they're playing bad teams. Gunslingers are scary when they're playing good defenses.
And if they're playing a good defense, like that's where this could blow up in my face, right? Like I'm putting a lot of faith that Joey Aguilar will be able to hit some throws maybe that Nico wouldn't have been able to downfield or didn't last year. And they'll be able to hit some plays that keep this close and force Georgia to score them. If you outscore them, if you look at the over-under of 49.5, like this strikes me as a 28-20 type game, right? If Tennessee can be a team that scores early and puts the pressure on Georgia, I like their chances of being the team that scores 28. I like the under on this too.
So you taking Tennessee money line or Tennessee
money line? I mean, now that it's 3.5, I wanted to do it when it was 7. I wanted to make people mad.
I am glad you said that because I was going to pick Georgia -7, and now I get to pick Georgia -3.5 because I think this is a classic situation where Tennessee has a couple good games, and we haven't seen them play this early in the season in a while, but Tennessee has a couple good games. We haven't really seen them play anybody yet, and then Kirby reminds everybody who daddy is. So
that's true. Kirby is daddy. Like, I don't want anybody to think that I've lost sight of that. But here's the other thing. And it was really late at night. Saturday's a really long day for us. Like we're watching football and writing, and you had a Billy Napier column. I was cranking out big stories on Illinois. It wasn't the same type of day for both of us, but we're up late. And by the time we start doing our show, like you're fried a little bit. I don't want to lose track of the opinion that I have. And it's in a column that I wrote on 3 Monday morning, which is if the Big 12 is, or if the SEC shares something in common with the Big 12 and that teams that we don't think can win every game, how does that manifest? Where does that manifest? That manifests in games like this, where Georgia isn't just going to go in and win every game in tough environments. Gunnar Stockton's first road game, they're just going to go and beat Tennessee in that environment because they're Georgia. Like, if that's still the case, then Georgia has a chance to win the national title this year, and I assume that they do. But if you believe what I said and you agree with the take that the SEC is going to be kind of sloppy this year, that it's going to be a bloodbath, then this is where you pick. Those are the spots you pick, right? Everybody just assumes Georgia's going to win. You're assuming Georgia's going to win, but like, we're not doing that this year. I'm not doing it this year. So, I'm going to take Tennessee, and I'll either look kind of smart or I'll look like an idiot. I don't know. It happens. But Tennessee, the second this game was on the schedule, I knew I was going to take them with the points. I knew 7 was a lot, and like now the spread's 3.5 for a reason, man. Like, listen to it.
I'm just happy I get to take Georgia 3.5 instead of Georgia 7.
I guarantee Georgia -3.5 is going to be the biggest public play of the weekend, because that's how people bet, and that's not how you.
We'll have to call our guy John Ewing and find out. It's going to be very, very fun. This game's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see Neyland Stadium for this game. It's going to rule.
Like, do you hate my premise, or do you kind of see where I'm going with it at least? Like, are you like?
Oh, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Okay.
No, I don't think you're insane at all. I think we've staked out opposite sides for kind of similar reasons. Like, we both have logical reasons why we've staked out the side we've staked out. And I get, like, you can convince me of your point And I think I could probably make a rational argument where you'd say, I see why you're picking Georgia.
Yeah, if Georgia's defensive players just throw people around and they're Georgia's D,
yeah.
I'm never going to come into a post-game
right.
podcast.
It's going to be a slog. They're just going to lock them down and boa constrictor them. Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting happens. I could be wrong.
I promise you, Andy. On Saturday night when we're together talking about the games, I'm not going to, in Georgia, if Georgia wins, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, how did Georgia win?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be stunned if Tennessee wins either. But I'm happy that we don't know what's going to happen in this game because for the longest time, we knew exactly what would happen in this game.
I love that the television window's at 3:30, man. Right at the right time. That's when SEC football is played.
Yeah, they trained you to do that for 20 years. Trained us to watch those for 20 years. ESPN, you don't have to mess it up. Like you don't need to move those games to 7:30 now.
It's the perfect time slot for me. I think it's the perfect time slot for a big game. I know people love night games, and I know that tailgating for an extra 3 hours while watching the other games is fun. I'm not saying that night games aren't great, but the fourth quarter is dark outside game is the best because it becomes dark. You get the night game atmosphere when it matters the most.
That's right. Next up, we head to the state of Florida, where USF, coming off its upset win of Florida, goes to Miami. Now, USF was a 19.5-point underdog when it played Florida. Won outright. USF is now a 16.5-point underdog against the Hurricanes. We've talked about USF's situation here. They don't necessarily have to win this game to then go on and win the American and make the playoff. If they did win this game, though, Ari, then if they won the American, they would be in the playoff. Like, there would be no question about it. It wouldn't matter what their record was in the American as long as they won it.
Yeah. So I have already been on record. I don't know if you saw. Yeah, you did see. You tweeted out the clip of you and I discussing Florida and Miami's trajectory, and everybody, the Miami fans found that this week. And rightfully so. When you have a take that doesn't age well.
It's a long off season. We have a lot of chances to say stupid things, and we said something very stupid.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's also week 2, and I don't know that it's stupid. We'll see.
I suspect it was stupid.
It's probably stupid. But that's part of this job, too. It's like we're not batting 1,000 on correct takes all the time.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe I'm in this job because I have bad takes all the time, but at least they're entertaining takes. But I wonder if this is the weekend where everything kind of regresses to the mean a little bit, where South Florida, who was a completely overlooked entity coming into the year, people didn't know who Byron Brown was till they watched them play Boise, actually comes out and proves that it's a legitimate playoff contender in a way that they are better than people give them credit for. And then Miami isn't as dominant as they were in their first game against Notre Dame, or they have a sleeper game or whatever. I'm sure they're probably quite awake now after what happened to Florida. They don't want it to happen to them. But you have a competitive football game in the state of Florida that ends with like Miami winning 38-22 or something. Like, I think that I am picking South Florida here because I have respect for them as a team. But that also isn't a disrespect for Miami. I think it's going to be a tough Florida game. Now, I don't know if South Florida is just going to come out and just be completely exhausted, and it took every ounce of energy physically and emotionally to beat Florida on the road, and that they won't be able to like get up again for a second game in a row like this. But I think that it's possible that South Florida is just a playoff team this year from the group of 5. And when you play a playoff, like Boise wouldn't have been a 16.5-point favorite on the road against Miami last year. What if they're this year's Boise? They don't have Genty, but what if Byron Brown is just sensational?
It's entirely possible. It's also possible that this Miami team is a team that beats you in low-scoring games. Now, obviously, we're not going to learn much from Bethune-Cookman last week, but if their defense is considerably better, they might be the kind of team that tries to squeeze the life out of you, and they're not trying to run up the score on you because they don't want to make mistakes on offense. They want to play conservatively on offense because they know they have a good defense. And so that could keep the score down, which with a spread this high, it's really hard to cover that.
What a world that would be. That's Miami this year. They're
I know.
Conservatively on offense because their defense is good team. I didn't see that one.
Now, last year, USF actually played them tough for 3 quarters or 2.5 quarters, and then Cam Ward went crazy and they couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
But Miami's offense is different this year. Now I'm very excited about what Malachi Toney can be. So there's a chance that Miami's offense gets better and better each week. So mind that before we make any major decisions.
What if Miami has a really good offense and a really good defense? That's possible too, right?
Right. They're a national title contender.
One of the 3 best teams in college football this year, and we just didn't see it coming.
Yep. And that's what makes this game so interesting, because I think USF is good. I think they're going to give them a really good fight. And Miami probably, especially because USF beat Florida, is going to be on high alert. So you're probably going to get the best version of Miami, which is weird because you would have looked at the schedule and said, oh, they might overlook USF because they've got Florida the next week. But now, well, USF and Florida played. Who are you more worried about? The team that won the game. So I think you're going to get the best version of Miami. I agree with you that I think this is a very tough spread to cover, and I think USF is good. That said, what if Miami is what you just said? What if Miami, the offense gets better, the defense is improved, and they are just the team that we thought last year's team was supposed to be? I'm going to take Miami to cover here. And I realize taking Florida to cover against USF made me look really, really stupid. But I am going to take Miami to cover here just because I do think there's also a letdown spot here for USF. Huge win. But I know Alex Golesh is a very good coach. I know he's going to get them up because the opportunity in front of them, if they can win this game, they are in such a great position for the rest of the season. It's huge. But again, I don't think Miami's going to be surprised here. So I will take Miami to cover. Ari, let us move on. Arkansas at Ole Miss. So Arkansas has looked very good in both the games we've seen. Not played the greatest of competition, but they've looked quite good so far. Ole Miss struggled with Kentucky before finally knocking them out there at the end. Now, obviously, Mark Stoops with the backdoor cover, but you knew Ole Miss was going to win. Austin Simmons went out of that game, looked like an ankle. How confident are we in Ole Miss? This is a big spread. This is 8.5 points for Ole Miss at home. How confident are we in Ole Miss after watching them against Kentucky?
Last week, I was very confident in Ole Miss, and that was, you know, how, I don't know if you and your spouse do this at night. Probably not. Maybe I'm weird, but sometimes my wife and I will be like, "What was the rose and thorn of your day?" And
we never do that.
Okay, we're just like, what was the best thing that happened to you, and what was the worst thing that happened to you? You know, it's just called emotional intimacy, Andy.
When we go to bed, it's like, nah.
I've got to be better about asking her every day. We don't ask every day, but it needs to be a thing. My thorn on Saturday was watching Ole Miss play Kentucky. That was the worst part of my day. And it wasn't just because of how it ended. It was miserable to watch the entire game.
Right.
And I don't know if Kentucky just has some weird voodoo energy over Ole Miss or what it was, but I thought that Ole Miss was going to be a much sharper team than we got. And they ended up getting there and covering the spread before blowing it at the end. But if you guys could pull up our texts from the day, I think I said, they are going to bury me alive. This Ole Miss team is going to be the reason I am deceased after this. And I'm doing it again, Andy. I'm doing it again. 8.5 is not a big spread. They should be able to beat Arkansas by 10 at home, no? It's a big spread.
The last time they played Arkansas in Oxford, they won 27-20. And Ole Miss was a much better team than Arkansas that year.
Yeah.
Now, last year in Fayetteville, it was a blowout. It was a bloodbath. It was 63-31 Ole Miss. So I don't think there's a pattern here that's as easily identifiable as the one that Lane Kiffin pointed out last week when he said the last 4 Kentucky games have been decided by 4 points or less. I don't think there's an easily identifiable pattern here with this one.
Well, I will say, last week you thought that the bet of the week was Arkansas State plus 23 against Arkansas. Did you see the final score of that game?
I did. Arkansas covered very easily.
56-14. They've dropped 50 points in both of their games. Now, obviously, Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas State are very different from playing on the road at Ole Miss. But do you think that Arkansas from those two games is a better team than we anticipated? Because I anticipated a 4-win team this year.
No, I thought they were going to be a 6 or 7 win team potentially. So I think they're pretty good.
Okay, so here's their schedule. Just to, and if River you have it, you can throw it up so the people watching can visualize it. Ole Miss on the road, Memphis on the road, which is a tough game. At home against Notre Dame, on the road at Tennessee, home against Texas A&M, at home against Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, Texas, and Missouri. Give me your 6 wins on that one, Andy.
Well, they've already got 2.
Yeah, those were the 2
Memphis.
they were getting.
Memphis is
3.
tough. Okay. That's not a lot of wins. Mississippi State?
Yeah, 4.
Maybe. Although they did beat Arizona State.
This is when I said I anticipated
Ole Miss. I'll take Arkansas. There you go.
To win?
I am not taking the money line. Hell no. No. I want all of those 8.5 points.
It's easy to say in theory I see a 6-win team because they do usually win 6 games, but against this schedule, I see a 4.
Well, they got to surprise you, and this is the part where maybe they surprise me. So I'm going to take Arkansas to cover here,
and I'm going to take another miserable viewing experience. Ole Miss minus 8.5, and if they're up by 10 and Arkansas kicks a field goal at the end, I will emerge into traffic. I can't live through that again. But Ole Miss, I think, is at least 10 points better than Arkansas at home. At least you would think. And Austin Simmons, who did get banged up and missed time late in the game, Lane Kiffin said he could have come back into the game if they needed him to. They didn't. He should be fine. Give me Ole Miss, and I'll just keep riding the Rebels until they inevitably let me down.
All right, let us talk Florida LSU. I was just at Billy Napier's press conference. It was a surprisingly defiant Billy Napier. Not what I expected coming off the USF game. Struck me as a guy who thought everything that went wrong there is completely correctable, that DJ Lagway is suffering because he hasn't really gotten to practice with his teammates as much, that he will get better the more he gets to play with them. Here's my issue with that, Ari. We've seen with Billy Napier in 3+ years where he's been confident. He's like, this is the team. I got this. And then it has looked like he doesn't know what he's supposed to have when the game actually hits. But the one game of 2, and they happened in consecutive weeks last year, where he proved us wrong and himself right, was against LSU. So what are we to take from that? Like, if they play the way they played against USF, they're going to get annihilated by LSU. Annihilated. But will they be that bad? I don't know, because like the Lagway stuff's interesting, because there's a ton of criticism about Lagway. Why did he throw to this guy instead of this guy? Why did he do this instead of this? Why did he check to a pass when they needed to run the clock? There also were several throws that DJ Lagway made that would have been touchdowns or key first downs that people just dropped. And what if they don't drop them this time?
Yeah. I texted you yesterday saying, I don't know if you think I'm sick in the head or an emotionally unavailable human, but the spread seems a little high for me.
Yeah. Here's Billy Napier on DJ Lagway. So you'll get a sense of the vibe I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Practice, DJ had looked very good. Week 1 was on a mission last week. It hasn't seemed to translate completely to the games yet.
I think it translated. I thought he made a lot of steps forward in the game Saturday. I think he's still getting comfortable. You guys can see that, much like he can, and we can. So, but he did a lot of good things in the game. I think he's still getting in the rhythm. This was third week of practice. You can see that, getting comfortable with some of these skill players. And then, I think he's really close, to having a huge day. And so, he takes that personal, and he's an elite competitor. And the number one motivator for him is being able to execute and perform and do his job for his teammates. You know, that's the thing I respect about the guys. When he doesn't get the result he wants on a play, his immediate feeling there is about letting the guys down. So highly motivated to continue to improve. But, yeah, he definitely did a lot of things better. But there's more. There's ceiling left there for him to improve. And, look, we got to play better around him at times too. A little more precision across the board in the throw game. And then, you know, I think as a staff we can help him as well.
So that is interesting because against LSU last year was where you and I started drinking the DJ Lagway Kool-Aid, which is why we overhyped him this offseason. Is that DJ Lagway coming back? More specifically, Ari, can he come back against this LSU defense, which, while the same scheme, is probably considerably better from a personnel standpoint?
I'm going to level with you, Andy. I was anticipating Superman this year, not press conferences about how he is afraid to let his teammates down and how he is struggling to get on the same page with his skill position players. So I'm going to wear that. Like, I'm not going to make excuses for him. I still think that the ceiling is incredibly high, and the things that made me fall in love with him are still there. I mean, the physical attributes are just off the charts. What we saw on Saturday was nowhere near what I anticipated out of him this year. And I know that the discourse always falls on the quarterback when a team loses a game, especially one in shocking fashion. I don't know that I would watch the Florida game back and be like, yeah, DJ Lagway's the problem here. But he didn't play exceptional. He didn't play well, no. I don't think. So, you know, from that standpoint, you better hope Billy Napier's right. Billy Napier's hoping he's right. His job.
This is his only chance at this point. Yeah.
And I think part of the reason why we thought that Florida could compete for a national championship spot in the playoff was as a result of him being exceptionally good. And he hasn't been. And I don't know if that was just a 3-month sleepwalking event from us of like not really thinking it through. And maybe it'll end up with us looking really stupid, but I still really do think that he is exceptionally good. But he has to be exceptionally good in the games in order for Florida to achieve that, and he just hasn't been. And I think that it's fair, if you have been questioning that, to continue to question that, because against South Florida, that's when it's supposed to look easy. That's when it's supposed to, even if South Florida is the group of 5 representative in the playoff, that you lose that game 38-35. You don't lose it the way that they lost it. They could not score.
And that's the fear. That said, this is a lot of points. LSU's favored by 9.5, and I realize LSU's at home. It's at night, Tiger Stadium. This is, as we pointed out, DJ Lagway's first road start in the SEC. So I find that interesting because it feels like we've been talking about it forever. So what do you think happens, Ari? Is Billy Napier right? Is Florida better than what we saw? Because all they got to do is stay within double digits of this thing to cover.
I think he is better than what we saw. And I think that this spread is 5 points too high.
He is in DJ or them as in Florida? Because I think there's two different.
Sorry, no. I think that Billy Napier is correct in that we didn't see how good he can be.
Okay.
And I'm not agreeing with Billy. I'm agreeing with myself on this one. And maybe agreeing with Billy is the bad thing to do at this point, at this juncture in his tenure. But I think the spread should be 4.5, not 9.5. And I think it might have been closer to 5, 6, 4.5 if Florida would have found a way to survive on Saturday. But I think that the spread here is a bit of an overreaction to what we saw on Saturday. And I think people are going to overreact with their wallets by laying 10 points, and we're going to get a game on Saturday night. That's what I think.
Well, and LSU center Braylon Moore went down on play 1 last week against Louisiana Tech. I think that is a big reason why their offense looked out of sorts. I think their offense will look better, as long as the center who practices all week plays most of the game. Trey'Dez Green, the tight end, got hurt too. That's tough. So I think LSU's offense is going to be a bit hamstrung. My thinking on this, though, Ari, and I agree that it's a lot of points. If LSU's defense is truly better, Florida may be able to play a much better game than it played against USF and still lose by 10 points.
Do you believe that Florida can make it hard for LSU to score, though, too?
I do. Caleb Banks should be coming back, the defensive tackle. He hasn't played yet this season.
By the way, huge loss for them because he's one of the most important pieces on Florida's entire team, right?
Right. But so he's playing probably this week, we think. keep an eye on that Wednesday release of the injury report, because Caleb Banks, it seems like he's going to play. Unclear about Dallas Wilson, the really good freshman receiver, whether he's going to play or not. So those are going to affect, and probably going to affect, the line when they come out. All of this said, I'm still going to take LSU to cover.
Yeah. Well, part of this too is last year Florida bounced back in such a beautiful way that part of you still feels like that's the case. The other end of the spectrum here is that this is when the wheels fall off. Right. Like how much of the we need to win this one for Billy is left in the tank.
And Florida's going to play really well. I'm telling you right now, Florida's going to play really well in at least one of these next 4 games. LSU, Miami, Texas A&M. They're going to play really well in at least one of these. I don't know if it's going to be this one or not. But if LSU's defense is that much better, Florida's still going to have a hard time scoring. If Florida on the line of scrimmage plays the way they played against USF, LSU is going to make this very difficult for them. So I will take LSU to cover. You will take Florida to cover. And all right, we got to go lightning round on these next 2 before we get to the big one in South Bend. Vandy at South Carolina. They both played the same team the last 2 weeks. Both of them have played Virginia Tech. South Carolina kind of got into a fight and then finally put it away in the fourth quarter. Vandy fell behind and then annihilated Virginia Tech in the second half. One was a neutral site, one was in Blacksburg. Do we draw anything from that, or do we say, hey, these teams played last year, and South Carolina might be a bad style match for Vandy?
Yeah. So I actually was talking on the phone this morning with my former editor at The Athletic, Mitch Light, who you know is a big Vanderbilt guy. And we were texting before the game, I believe, or he said he was going to text me before the game. I can't remember what actually occurred. A lot happens on Saturday. About how he felt that Virginia Tech was going to be a very tough matchup for Vanderbilt athletically, because Virginia Tech, as we saw in person the previous week, did a very good job of hanging in there with South Carolina from an athletic standpoint. And I think that the old Vanderbilt brain, which is, he's been following them for 30 years, can't wrap their heads around Vanderbilt physically asserting itself over a team that's as athletic as Virginia Tech is. Now, Virginia Tech has issues, there's no question, but they still are fast, big, and strong. And that's usually how you got to Vanderbilt. And why Vanderbilt has struggled in the SEC is because they were not athletically equipped to handle it. But if you go back and you watch Vanderbilt's game against Virginia Tech, especially in the second half when they unraveled it a little bit, they kicked their ass, Andy. I thought that for all the jokes that we have about Diego Pavia, saying national championship is the reason he's back, whatever, they're not going to win the national title this year. But I do think that they're a very good football team that can exist in a physical game. And I'm not sure that was the case for Vanderbilt 5 years ago. So, South Carolina has not played exceptionally well through the first 2 weeks. They're 2-0. And I know that they had an emotional opener with the Beamer Bowl situation and then a short week this last week. And I do buy into the notion that you should be afraid that this is just a bad styles make fight situation for Vanderbilt. But I just wanted to caution the audience. I'm going to lay the points here, but it's not going to be an easy game for them. I'm taking South Carolina, but I think it's going to be a tough game for them.
I'm also taking South Carolina here. I do think it's a styles make fight situation more than anything else. I think they're probably the wrong team Vandy wants to see right now. So I'll take South Carolina here. Duke at Tulane. Darian Mensah returns to Tulane. Tulane has beaten Northwestern. This is yet another power conference opponent. They also have at Ole Miss next week. They would like to keep pace with USF. Obviously, if all goes well for both teams, they would play in the American Championship game. But what do we think happens when Darian Mensah returns to New Orleans?
Maybe Darian Mensah and Duke won't turn it over 2 times in the red zone in this game. I'm mad at you, Duke. You made me look like an asshole last week. And Illinois is a really good team, and I think Illinois was the better team. But that game and that score got completely out of hand because of self-inflicted wounds that Duke had. They had a dropped pass in the end zone that would have been a touchdown. There was a few penalties in the red zone, I think, on the same play that caused them to not score. They turned it over multiple times. That wasn't a representation of who Duke is, I don't think. And I think that Duke is actually a 9-win team in the ACC. Tulane's a team that I think is trendy in the group of 5, and you have the storyline of Darian Mensah returning, but I think Duke is more than 3 points better than Tulane. I'm going to take Duke.
Tulane messed around a little bit with South Alabama. They took a lead and then had to hold on to win that game. I'm surprised Tulane's favored in this game. Even after what happened in the second half of Illinois Duke, I'm surprised Tulane's favored in this game. That said, I will take Tulane to cover here. So
yeah, I mean, I'm taking 3 points. I feel pretty good about it. But if Duke doesn't cover, then I just had them wrong.
And that's the big question is we're going to find out, like, what are they, I think, in this game.
Yeah.
Let us go to South Bend now, Ari. This is a big one. Texas A&M at Notre Dame. We've not seen Notre Dame play since they lost to Miami on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. Texas A&M, meanwhile, is 2-0. They just beat Utah State badly. Marcel Reed, their quarterback, went out with an injury in this game about the same time he was probably going to come out anyway because they had the game in hand. Mike Elko, the A&M coach, has said Marcel Reed's going to be fine. He's going to play in this game. We saw CJ Carr look like a freshman a bit, but also show some promise in that first game against Miami. What do we think happens here?
I think it's going to be a one-possession game. I think it's going to look a lot like last year. Andy, I think I'm going to go back and start drinking Notre Dame Kool-Aid again. I don't know. They made me feel so good last year.
Well, they need this one. They need this one. I know we've said over and over again that if you go 10-2, you're going to make the playoff. And you pointed this out when we were talking about this game in a video yesterday. Miami went 10-2 last year and didn't make the playoff because people didn't feel like they had enough quality wins. Now we'll see what the other teams on Notre Dame's schedule do, but I kind of think they got to win this one for it to be one of their 10 if they go 10-2.
Yeah, and listen, we don't know what A&M is going to be or who they are. But if A&M is your best win and A&M goes 8-4, you still really don't have a quality win, especially with it being at home. Now, I think we respect what it takes to beat A&M. I think we respected it a lot more when it happened in College Station because I think it's a much different proposition to beat them depending on where the game is. But, Notre Dame, I still think is a gritty, tough team that has a lot to learn from as a result of losing to Miami. I think, as we illustrated earlier in the video, that Miami is maybe one of the 3 or 4 best teams in college football. I think that's a crazy thing to think at this moment in time. And they lost by a possession at the end of the game. Is A&M as good as Miami? Is A&M a real team this year? I don't really know, but I think Notre Dame is probably going to win by 7.
I think that's a pretty big leap because is A&M's defense better than Miami's defense? I don't know.
I don't know, but probably no because of how good Miami's defensive line is.
But isn't A&M's defensive line really good too?
Yeah, but they don't have Ruben Bain. Who's on your Heisman list?
They got Cassius Howell. He's killing people.
Is he on your Heisman list?
Bowling Green transfer, just wrecking people. Maybe they didn't play anybody yet. Ruben Bain's on my Heisman list because he dominated against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
If Cassius Howell has his breakout game here,
if he wrecks this game, he deserves to be on your Heisman list.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this. I am curious because last year's game was such a rock fight. I don't think this year's game will be that because A&M now knows what it has in Marcel Reed. Remember last year they were still playing with Connor Wegman and they couldn't throw the ball or run the ball. I think they can do both now. Mostly they can throw because they can run. Marcel Reed is not going to be confused with, Patrick Mahomes, but when they get the ball going on the ground, they have receivers running open. And by the way, Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver look like they're going to be very valuable transfer portal pickups. So
sure.
I'm a little bit encouraged by Texas A&M's passing game. Now, I do think, based on what we saw from CJ Carr against Miami, that Notre Dame should have a more dynamic passing game this year. The question for me, Ari, is are they going to give the ball to Jeremiah Love? Are they going to try to establish the run? Are they going to try to move Texas A&M's defensive line? Are they going to try to impose their will on Texas A&M? Because I don't feel like they did that against Miami, and I think it hurt them.
Yeah. I am I think overly high on Notre Dame still. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to look like a fool, but
I love Notre Dame. I had them number 2 in my post-spring top 25. I love the offensive line. I feel like they have everything they need. But the game against Miami did cause me some concern because the offensive line didn't look as good as I thought it was going to look. And even if Miami's D-line is really, really good, Texas A&M's is going to be fairly comparable.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that A&M could throw the ball a little bit, with those receivers, I think does scare you a little bit. 6.5 is a pretty big spread.
It's that, and that's probably where I'm going more with this is I was surprised. I thought this was going to be a 3.5 point spread. 6.5 is a little shocking to me. And we've seen that quite a bit this year where they've just been a little higher than we thought. And, the Tennessee Georgia one was really high and people bet it down. This one came out and it hasn't really moved. Now it could move during the week, but it hasn't moved much. So it's a reasonable expectation that it's probably going to be around 6 or 6.5 when the game starts.
Yep. I feel comfortable laying it. We'll see what happens, but I mean, winning by a touchdown isn't out of the question, right?
No. And that's the thing. You can have a tie game and one team just scores a touchdown with 30 seconds to go, and that's the margin.
Happens all the time. Yeah.
Perfectly understandable, perfectly acceptable, not the weirdest thing in the world. So you're going to take Notre Dame to cover. I'm taking Texas A&M. I don't know if this is going to be a different Texas A&M or another 8-4 Texas A&M, but they have the capability to beat the good teams on their schedule. They have the talent. Mike Elko has said, hey, we feel better about every position room on the roster. They can beat some of these teams. I am fascinated to watch this. I think they can go to South Bend and get a win.
Yeah, man, if that happens, then Notre Dame might be cooked.
Now, I'm not taking the money line. I'm not that confident. I will take every one of those 6.5 points. But I just feel like A&M's capable of doing this. A&M's capable of keeping it within a touchdown. So we'll see what happens. Ari, these games are amazing.
Can't wait.
I can't wait. But we're going to talk about them the rest of the week too. We reserve the right to maybe re-examine some of these picks later in the week. But no, the record is the record. What we said today is set in stone. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.